Kent. Welcome to the meeting, and can I remind everyone present that this meeting is being live streamed and recorded for publication on the Council's website. Item 1 is apologies for absence. Rhiannon, do we have any apologies? I think everybody's here, aren't they? No apologies, thank you. Item 2 is minutes. I move that the minutes of the Cabinet meeting held on the 11th of September be approved as a correct record. Are there any comments on the accuracy of the minutes? No. Thank you. So we move on. Item 3, there are no items of urgent business this evening. Item 4, does any member have any declarations of interest to make? No, thank you. Item 5, statements of the leader. I have no statements this evening. Briefings on policy, budget and other issues, there are none. Rhiannon, do we have any petitions this evening? No? Okay. I'm not aware of any questions submitted by non-executive members. We welcome Councillor Spate as Chair of the People's Overview and Scrutiny Committee, and I will invite Councillor Spate to comment on matters that are pertinent to his Overview and Scrutiny Committee. Item 10, delegated decisions taken since the last meeting. A table of the delegated decisions taken since the last meeting has been provided in the agenda. So I will move on to item 11, the first substantive item of the evening, which is Microsoft licensing reprocurement, and I will invite Councillor Muldowney to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. I'm pleased to present the Microsoft relicensing paper, which outlines our approach to securing the necessary Microsoft licenses that are critical for the Council's daily operations, such as MS Teams, Word, Excel and email. They are all essential to how our offices work, and the expanded MS 365 suite provides further tools like SharePoint, Forms and Power Automate. These programs enable a more collaborative, flexible and highly efficient way of working. Officers are proposing to commence a tender exercise using a public buying organisation framework in November 2024 to award a 3-year contract for MS licensing. Such frameworks typically deliver cost savings through collective bargaining and negotiation, which ensures the Council benefits from economies of scale. The cost of the new contract will be contained within existing ICT budgets, allocations, and inflationary rises will be mitigated by annual licence audits to determine the value for the next 12 months. This ability to flex the number of licences will mean that any decrease in staff will constitute a reduction in the licence volumes required and therefore a reduction in cost to the Council. The total value of the new 3-year contract is estimated at 1.7 million, and officers are confident that this approach will deliver best value for the Council. Given the value of the contract, as part of the procurement processes, officers will also be asking suppliers for their social value contribution. The continued evolution of the MS 365 platform is a key component to the Council's digitalisation strategy, allowing staff to work anytime, anywhere and with maximum efficiency. So I urge Cabinet to approve the recommendations in this report, allowing officers to proceed with the tender process this November and to ensure the Council are positioned to award a new contract by April 2025. This decision will ensure that the Council can continue to deliver high quality services in an increasingly digital world while managing costs effectively. I'm open to any questions.
Thank you, Councillor Muldowney. I will open to questions or comments, and I'll start with Councillor Morris-Cook.
Thank you. Thank you. There's just a couple of things. Under 3.3, it's talking about cost savings, and it says through collective bargaining and negotiation we can secure favourable terms. And it says, I think, 16% lower than what you would be able to do normally. How much are we looking at having this as a cost saving?
Do you mean as part of the budget cost savings?
Well, it just says that we can achieve cost savings under 3.3. I just wondered how much we're looking at seeing cost savings.
A saving of 2.3% can be expected. But I don't think this is going to majorly contribute to the budget savings that we are going to make. But I'll ask if there's any officers here that can support with more detail.
Okay, and sorry, the second one, where it says, which I think is a really good part of this, the expected reduction in the workforce, which will lower the number of licences. How significant is that? So is it just 10 people go, there's nothing, if 100 people go, all of a sudden, or is it per licence that you will save the money?
Well, the renegotiation of the licences is annual, so it will take place once a year. So it just means that however many staff are less in that year, we won't have to pay for those extra licences moving forward. So,
Any further questions or comments? No? Okay, Councillor Muldowney, if you can read your recommendations, please. And I kind of understand it's a bit of a faff reading them, but it's beneficial to people that are listening, and some people do listen back.
okay, no problem. Thank you, Chair. Recommendations. 1.1, for the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to agree to commence the competitive tender of a Microsoft licensed software reseller as described in this report using the CCS frameworks, technology products and associated services 2 RM 6098 for a period of 3 years from the 1st of April 2025.
Are we all agreed?
Great.
Thank you.
And 1.3, if 1.2 is agreed, as it has been, to delegate the award of the contract to the Executive Director of Corporate Services in consultation with the relevant portfolio holder.
Are we all agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. So we move on to item 12, protected characteristics for care leavers, and I'll invite Councillor Hartstein to introduce her report.
Thank you, Leader. I'm very pleased to present this report to Cabinet today. This report stems from the motion that was unanimously supported by all 49 councillors at full council on the 24th of July 2024. It seeks Cabinet's approval to recognise care experience as a locally protected characteristic following the decision made at full council. At that meeting, we agreed to treat individuals up to the age of 25 who have been in the care of Thurrock Children's Services as having a locally protected characteristic, similar to those outlined in the Equality Act 2010. This policy will ensure that the Council considers the unique challenges faced by care experienced young people and how their care history may impact the opportunities available to them. Since Council policy is an executive function, Cabinet's approval is now required to formalise this decision and put the motion into effect. The motion and this report are the result of ongoing discussions with the Thurrock Young Voices group, who are a group of young people aged 11 to 15 who meet regularly and have direct experience of local authority involvement. They brought to our attention that many other local authorities, currently 92 across the country, have already recognised care experience as a protected characteristic, and they strongly advocated for Thurrock to follow suit. The independent review of children's social care, conducted by Josh McAllister in May 2022, highlights the discrimination, stigma and prejudice that many care experienced individuals face in their daily lives. Public perceptions often focus on negative stereotypes, portraying these individuals as irreparably damaged, which can lead to harmful assumptions and barriers. These stereotypes are not only prevalent in the media, but are also deeply felt by care experienced adults, making this policy all the more important. To continue improving upon the support we offer to care leavers in Thurrock, this report recommends that care experience be treated as a locally protected characteristic. And just to add that, as noted in the report, there are no additional costs associated with this proposal, and any expenses will be covered by existing budgets. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Hartstein. I think this is a really significant item this evening. I think we all think back to the council meeting where young voices came and spoke. It was incredibly powerful, and those youngsters were a real kind of credit to themselves, and just put young people in a really positive light. We are all corporate parents, and we need to take those responsibilities as corporate parents seriously, and I know that we do, and we already do much. For instance, help with council tax, prescriptions for care leavers, helping when young people move into their first home. But some of the statistics are just shocking. So, a quarter of all homeless people were once in care. A third of care leavers become homeless within 2 years of leaving care. It's something like a quarter of the prison population have been in care. So, clearly we need to do much more, and I think this is a significant step. So thank you for bringing it. Councillor Maldoni.
Thank you, Chair. I just want to echo what the Chair Leader said. I'm really pleased to welcome this report. I think it does represent a crucial step forward in supporting our care experience young people. And by recognising care experience as a locally protected characteristic, we're acknowledging the unique challenges that are faced by these individuals and ensuring they have safe and fair access to opportunities in education, employment and beyond. This policy, I think, shows our commitment as corporate parents to help care leavers thrive, empowering them to overcome barriers and realise their full potential. It's a strong message that Thurrock values all its young people, and I wholeheartedly support this report. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Councillor Spate.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I would just like to reiterate everything that has been said. Young Voices are a tremendous group, and as I think I reported at a previous meeting, I went along to one of their events and found a tremendous sense of responsibility from those young people who were helping organise it and who felt a need to care for others younger than themselves, even though many of them themselves were sort of middle-aged teenagers, as it were. So I think it's really good. I'm here tonight, obviously, as scrutiny. I very much expect that we won't need to do much scrutiny on this great proposal, because I'm sure those young people will be watching what we do. It's not just going to be a paper document that sits in the cupboard, and I look forward to the contribution of the young people in Thurrock to helping take us all forward.
Councillor Spate, thank you. Councillor Hartstein, would you like to move the recommendations, please?
Thank you, Leader. OK, I'll read them out one at a time. So 2.1, for the reasons set out in the report, Cabinet is recommended to agree to include care experience as equivalent to protected characteristics as defined by the Equality Act 2010 when discharging its powers and duties.
We all agreed? Thank you.
And then 2.2, this recommendation has no adverse impact upon the corporate policies, priorities or performance of the Council, but rather embodies foundations of the Council as highlighted in the corporate plan 2024 to 2029 relating to people. Just to quote, more jobs, skills and opportunities for our young people, especially those with special educational needs and disabilities, care leavers and others who need extra support.
Is that agreed? Thank you. Councillor Hartstein, thank you. We move on to item 13, change to the contract procedure rules, chapter 9, part 2 of the Council's constitution, and I will invite Councillor Maldoni to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. This report recommends amendments to the Council's contract procedure rules in response to the Procurement Act 2023, which is set to replace the Public Contracts Regulations of 2015. So the changes aim to reduce bureaucracy, simplify public procurement, encourage innovation and improve transparency around public finances. The report outlines how these changes are essential to align the Council's procurement rules with the new legislation and to ensure legal compliance. So I call on the Cabinet to approve the amended CPRs scheduled to take effect upon the implementation of the Act in February 2025.
Councillor Maldoni, thank you. I shall open to questions or comments. Councillor Morris-Cook.
Yeah, I really welcome this, and I think hopefully it's going to be like a breath of fresh air, so we will be able to encourage more local businesses to do business, and I think it's something, it's got to be an aspiration of this council to be simple to do business with. My question is, how are we going to let local businesses, social enterprises know about this and really encourage them to start taking making bids, and possibly if it's the first time, how we're going to actually support them so that our local business and enterprises can actually take advantage of it.
I'm not sure if that's under the. I'm not sure if that's really covered under this report. I mean, at the moment, this is about legal compliance with the Act that's coming in. I do agree that this should make it more simple for small businesses.
It should open it up.
It should open it up.
And
yeah.
if it does that, we need to be able to let our businesses and social enterprises know, surely.
So I think the Act comes in, it's next year. That gives us time to plan for how we will work with communities, with local small businesses to make sure that they know about the opportunities. But more importantly, it gives us time to look at the way that we offer the opportunities so that we can perhaps break things down into smaller contracts, taking a big contract down. That is work that is underway, and there'll be reports back in due course. Any further questions or comments? No? I think, Councillor Mordoni, if you could move the many recommendations, please.
I've only got one in my report.
There is only one.
Yeah. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to note the changes in the procurement regulations and to approve the Council's amended contract procedure rules in Appendix 2, which are to take effect on the implementation date of the Procurement Act 2023.
Are we all agreed? Agreed. Thank you. We move on to item 14, which is housing development garage sites, and I will invite Councillor Watson to introduce her report.
Thank you, Leader. So I'm really pleased to present this report, which outlines an exciting new development of 46 council houses at affordable rent across the sites in South Ockenden, Chadwell St Mary's and Stamford Le Hope. These sites currently being used as garages represent a fantastic opportunity for us to deliver much needed homes for our residents here in Thurrock. We have secured planning permission, and I am now seeking Cabinet's approval to proceed with self-delivering this housing programme. This will include moving forward with a tendering process for construction contracts through a competitive process. The funding for this development will come from the combined of right to buy receipts, which are held specifically to support the creation of new homes for rent within this borough and in our housing revenue account. Additionally, I'm very excited to announce that we've also been allowed to borrow against the HRA, which is a significant step forward on the intervention of how we're moving forward within this council. Yeah. The funding for this, the project is a key part of our commitment to improve housing across Thurrock, and it represents a type of forward-thinking development that's central to our vision of us here for a fresh start for Thurrock. Thank you.
Councillor Watson, thank you. Questions, comments? Councillor Hooper.
Thank you, Councillor Watson and Leader. I welcome this. I am over the moon that we are developing 46 council properties, which we have not done for a considerable time. Since 1981, over 2 million council properties have been sold off and only been replaced by 4% of that in that same period. I think as a councillor, it breaks my heart that I have to support people who cannot find accommodation to live at affordable costs. So I welcome this, and I hope we get much more in the future. So I'm very grateful to you, Councillor Watson.
Thank you. Councillor Morris-Cook.
Yes, it's fantastic news, so well done. And I think it's really good to have that confidence in that we're obviously on the right tracks now, that we've been allowed to borrow the money to be able to do this. So well done, Councillor Watson, just incredible. My one question to you is, clearly, previously, and I hate to go back, we have not covered ourselves in glory as a council when we've delivered projects. Well, we haven't really delivered them. If we look at sort of the A13 as one, how is this going to be different? And I know it will, because I know you're leading it, but how is it going to be different?
Councillor Watson.
Quite a big thing there you said then, Val. So one of the reasons of going forward is there is a development board that sits with the director of place. That will be scrutinised. There's been a lot of feasibility studies carried on already, as well as financial modelling of taking forward of what the rent could be on projection, and that it will cover the cost of the borrowing as well. They've also configured into that there is in vigorous way, there is a way, a right of way that will need to have compensation pot of 125,000. That is also being considered, and that is also being put in the budget. So and it's also be running with a 10% tolerance of construction anyway. So there's always a risk, without a doubt, and I can't move that off the table. But what I can say that it is going to be more vigorously monitored. It can be also monitored through the place ONS scrutiny. And it will also be coming back to me as a portfolio holder at very regular interviews, as well as what we do on Teviot already and Blackshots is monthly meetings with those councillors. That will also be happening with this as well to ensure that it's on time in the budget envelope to be delivered.
Who was next? Councillor Mordoni.
Thank you, Chair. Yes, I want to echo the comments of my colleagues in saying I'm really pleased to support this report on the housing development for our garage sites. I think it's an amazing achievement, given that we're a bankrupt council, that we've been allowed to borrow and to use our right to buy monies, which were at risk of having to be paid back. So all congratulations to Councillor Watson for her hard work on this. This project will deliver 46 new affordable homes, and these homes will not only provide much needed housing, but will also benefit the wider community through contributions to local education and healthcare. So I'm really looking forward to seeing these homes take shape. Like Councillor Hooper, I have quite a full inbox of people in my local ward who are desperate for housing because they're overcrowded. So I'm confident that these will provide at least some needed stability and opportunity for families in Bellis, Chadwell St Mary, which is my ward, Stamford East and Corringham Town. So I think we should really celebrate this milestone and continue to work together to deliver growth that benefits everyone. It's an exciting step forward for our borough and look forward to seeing these homes transform lives. Thank you.
Councillor Worrell.
Thank you, Councillor Watson, for your report. And as I echo what everybody else says, it's amazing to finally be building houses, and thankfully the government see that we are a good bet and that we're moving forward with in intervention, and that we are now allowed to borrow again through the Public Loans Board. My questions around each of these developments are very, very close to people's homes, particularly the Lyndhurst Road one. That site sits right in the middle of a housing estate. And if we're building these ourselves, then we need to ensure that those residents that live very, very close to these sites, they're going to have lorries and stuff being taken in and out of there. And I just wondered what's been built in to make sure that we don't disrupt people's home lives too much throughout the build. It's not so much like the ones that are along like a main road on their own, but for the Lyndhurst one, they're certainly in the middle of a housing estate.
Councillor Watson, how are you going to minimise disruption for existing residents?
Yes, that's it. That's what I wanted to say.
Thank you for your question, both of you. There will be full, community engagement. People around there will know what the construction timelines will be, as well as what the actual is going to be looking like at the end of it. So I'm very, very keen that we have community engagement out there as soon as this is agreed now to go forward, and that we will have construction done in a reasonable time and not going on to late at night. And that will all be put into the construction tendering exercise as well, which will be monitored by all the officers to ensure that they keep up to it and enforce if not.
Seen nobody else indicate, so Lee, thank you. This is a significant item, a significant step forward. 46 new council homes at affordable rent is not to be sniffed at. The fact that the government has now the confidence to allow us to borrow £10 million is significant, and I think it just goes to show the difference that a Labour council can make. So with that, I'll invite you to move the recommendations.
Thank you. There's quite a few recommendations. Apologies. So 2.1, that the model for the delivery of the programme is self-delivered by the council within the HRA. 2.2, subject to government agreement to sufficiently borrowing to commence a procurement process and to delegate to the interim executive director of place following consultation with a leader and cabinet member for good growth and section 151 officer the decision to make the necessary contract awards for 1. A main construction contractor to demolish existing garages and erect 33 new council homes for affordable rent within the HRA at Broxburn Drive in South Ockenden within the development boundaries shown in Appendix 1. 2. A main construction contractor to demolish existing garages and erect 6 new council homes for affordable rent within the HRA at Lyndhurst Road and Stamford Le Hope within the development boundaries shown in Appendix 2. 3. A main construction contractor to demolish existing garages and erect 7 new council homes for affordable rent within the HRA at Vigrans Way and Shadwell St Mary's within the development boundaries showed in Appendix 3.
Can we agree those 2 recommendations?
Agreed.
Thank you.
2.3. Approval of a budget to be funded from 9.8 million retained right to buy receipts, 9.8 prudential borrowing to be funded through the housing revenue account. Can I have agreement?
Agreed.
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2.4. Approval for the provision of the following on Broxburn Drive to secure notice of full planning approval in accordance with the resolution to grant planning. 1. Development to be for 100% affordable housing. 2. Education contribution towards secondary education amounted to £54,223.24p and £10,156.25 towards nursery provision within a combined total contribution of £64,379.49. Mid and South Essex NHS Foundation Trust healthcare contribution of £16,900 in contribution toward primary care network local.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you.
In the event, 2.5, in the event all of any of the Broxburn Drive land defined by reference to the application site prudent to plan application reference 22-01706 TBC is sold, to require the purchasers as part of the sale agreement to enter into the Section 106 agreement immediately upon purchase in respect of any of the planning obligations which remain to be fulfilled or ongoing, as advised by the local planning authority. The requirement 1, 2 and 3 in paragraph 2.4, to the extent that they are unfulfilled, will be a planning obligation to insert into the Section 106 agreement. Is that agreed?
Are we agreed?
2.6. Approval of a budget of £125,000 from within the HRA for the appropriation of any private rights on the land at Vegans Way under Section 203 of the Housing Planning Act 2016.
And is that agreed? Okay. Thank you. We'll move on to item 15, which is Bellis Park Conservation Management Plan. And again, I'll invite Councillor Watson, if she's had a break, to move her report.
Thank you, Leader. The following report is on the Conservation Management Plan for Bellis Park, which is a Grade 2 registered park and a garden located in the west of our borough. As you may know, in 2018, Bellis Park was added to the Historic England's Heritage Risk Register. This highlighted the importance of preservation and protecting this valuable heritage asset for future generations. The Conservation Management Plan, prepared by our Place Directorate through funding by National Highways, is a crucial step in our efforts to manage and safeguard the historic significance of Bellis Park. It has been developed in close collaboration with key stakeholders involved in the site's management and understanding. The report not only reviews the development and content of the Conservation Management Plan, but also seeks Cabinet's approval to publish its public consultation, ensuring that we engage with our community in shaping the future of this important heritage site that we have in our borough. Thank you.
Councillor Watson, thank you. I shall open for questions and comments. No questions and comments. Councillor Maldoni.
I really welcome the report, and I mean, officers should be congratulated on the report because it's extremely, detailed and very interesting to read. And there's lots of nice pictures of trees, which always pleases me. It's obviously a very important conservation site, so I'm pleased to see this report coming forward. Obviously, we've got a diverse amount of stakeholders involved in managing Bellis Park, and I just wondered, how will the council maintain a unified approach to the park's conservation with so many people involved? What's our role in that?
So the park does belong within our boundaries, so it will be down to the Thurrock Council will be the ones that will be the main stakeholder in that, and we'll be making sure that each stakeholder is fully involved in all the decision making process going forward. We have to work holistically with this. It's not just a fragmented piece, it's a very important piece of work, a very long piece of work that I have to congratulate officers that have actually put so much detail and have took so much time and effort in actually producing this report. So we will probably be leaving it with the stakeholders to ensure that we have a good say on what's going on and protecting it.
Okay, if there's no one else, this is a significant piece of work, and I too like to add my thanks to the officers that have prepared the action plan. It is really detailed, but I kind of echo Councillor Maldoni's point. We do have fragmented ownership of the site, and building that consensus that allows us to manage it, to preserve it, to improve it, will be really important. So I think we'll all look forward to monitoring the implementation of this plan and making sure that it does what we all hope it will achieve. And with that, I'll invite Councillor Watson to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Leader. So the recommendations. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommended to 2.1 to approve the Bellis Park Conservation Management Plan, Appendix A and B, for public consultation for 8 weeks and agree to delegate authority to the Interim Executive Director of Palace in consultation with the portfolio holder to make any changes resulting from that consultation and adopt the final version. Thank you.
Are we all agreed? Thank you. So we move on now to item 16, which is Local Development Scheme, the Thurrock Local Plan. And I'll once again invite Councillor Watson to introduce her report. I'll slow down.
Thank you. And thank you, Leader. So the Local Development Scheme, as we all know, is such an important document for our borough. This report outlines a timeline for the Council's local plan and sets out the key milestones as we move forward. As you know, the local plan is crucial for guiding future developments and growth across the borough. The next major step in this journey is to consult on the Regulation 19 documents, which will help shape the final version of the plan. However, after reviewing our evidence-based and considering various external factors, a revised timetable for the preparation of the local plan has been identified. Cabinet is being asked to agree to this updated timetable, which will then be submitted to the Secretary of State. This is an important moment to ensure that our local plan remains robust and responsive to changing circumstances. To ensure that Cabinet can effectively monitor progress against these new milestones, the Chief Planning Officer will be tasked with bringing a progress report to Cabinet on a 6-monthly basis. The report also identifies a funding shortfall of 1.28 million, which will be closely monitored and addressed through the Council's annual budget setting process. I would encourage Cabinet to review the full suite of recommendations outlined in paragraph 2.1 to 2.6 of the report. As I said, the local development scheme is such a key point of our strategic approach to building that we need to get it right the first time. And if that's mean extending the deadline, which we are asking to do, that is the right thing to do. The risk, if we do not, is that we could end up in intervention by government that will impose a local plan on something that we have no say on, or where any of our growth should be, or how we manage it. So can I consider Cabinet to look at these recommendations?
Councillor Watson, thank you. Open for questions or comments. Councillor Muldowney.
Thank you, Chair. You know, it's with regret that we acknowledge the inevitable delays to the delivery of the local plan. I know this isn't a decision that has been taken lightly, and it's one driven by the complexities of the situation that you've inherited, which has put us in a position where it's impossible to move forward without ensuring that our evidence base is sound and legally robust. So while there's been work to mitigate the impact of these delays, the need for a consolidation period to review and refine the local plan seems undeniable. Obviously, we're going to have this additional 1.28 million funding required, but that reflects the importance that we need to get this right. I do support this report and the recommendation for the delays. I just think it's a shame. Again, it's an inherited situation that we've got to put right. Thank you.
Okay. I've seen nobody else indicate. I'll just echo what Councillor Muldowney has said. This is a legacy issue. It's unfortunate, but it's inevitable that we need to take time to get the evidence we need, to get the policies we need, and to do a proper job. This isn't something that we can afford to do half-heartedly or to get wrong. So I fully support the report. Councillor Watson, do you want to move the recommendations?
Thank you, Leader. So recommendations. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet has recommended to 2.1, agree the revised timetable for production of the Thurrock local plan. And 2.2, agreed that authority is delegated to the Chief Planning Officer in consultation with the portfolio holder for growth to produce, submit and publish a local development scheme incorporating the revised timetable for the Thurrock local plan as set out in this report.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you.
Thank you. 2.3. Noted that the Chief Planning Officer reports progress to Cabinet on a 6-monthly basis achieved against the milestones set out in the body of this report, and reports on any changes as a result of the amendments to the National Planning Policy Framework.
Is that agreed?
Agreed. Agreed.
2.4. Note that the Chief Planning Officer engages in direct contact with the appropriate personnel at the Minister of Housing, Communities and Local Government and keeps them informed of progress achieved towards the adoption of the replacement local plan for Thurrock.
Is that agreed?
2.5. That the funding shortfall of 1.28 million required to progress the local plan to adoption as identified in paragraph 7.2 and table 5 be noted.
We're all happy to note that?
Yep.
Thank you.
Cabinet also to note, as per paragraph 7.6, the additional funding of 1.28 million will be addressed annually as part of the budget setting process when general funds reserves are reviewed. The additional costs are capped at 1.28 million and further Cabinet approval is required for any expenditure over this sum.
Is that agreed?
Agreed.
And the 2.6, that Cabinet receives a report on the Stantic Local Plan Review, which identifies how recommendations will be addressed.
Agreed.
Are we agreed? Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, moving on, we come to item 17, which is Planning Service Transformation and Improvement Programme. And once again, I will invite Councillor Watson to introduce her report.
Thank you. I'm pleased to update Cabinet on the progress of the Comprehensive Plan and Service Transformation Improvement Programme. This programme was developed in response to the Planning Advisory Services review conducted with the Local Government Association in late 2023. The review outlined 11 key recommendations for improvement, which form the foundations of the transformation. To ensure we meet these recommendations, a Planning Improvement Board was established, chaired by the Executive Director of Place, which convenes every 2 weeks to closely monitor and guide the progress of this programme. Whilst there is still work to do, I'm pleased to report that we're seeing clear signs of improvement. For example, the backlog of the planning application will be reduced by 80%, demonstrating real progress in one of our key areas of focus, which is section 4.8 of the report details. To keep the leadership team informed, the programme manager provides a monthly highlight report summarising key achievements and progress, which is circulated to the Chief Exec through the Executive Director of Place. Looking ahead, a further progress report will be issued in early 2025, following a revisit by the Planning Advisory Services to assess our continuing improvement. The full recommendation for this programme is set out in paragraph 2.1 of the report, and I encourage Cabinet to support this critical work as part of our vision for Thurrock. Thank you.
Councillor Watson, thank you. I'll invite questions or comments. I'll start with Councillor Morris-Cook.
Thank you. Yeah, you actually took one of my questions, because I was going to ask you what's some of your examples of your biggest improvements to date, and obviously an 80% improvement is quite extraordinary. So well done, and it's really good to see that the close monitoring of this, because it is so easy just to put the report to one side and nothing to happen. So I'm going to go to the other end. What do you still think your biggest challenge is?
Thank you. One of our probably biggest challenge is to still clear the backlog, and that is continuing at pace at the moment now. Also, planning are going through a restructure to address some of the things that are in the improvement, and that is ongoing currently at the moment now. We can also not forget that we've got some really good planners and we've got some really good staff that sit within planning, and I feel they need to be recognised for all the disruption that's happening previously, and that they are actually now allowing to be grown and to do their job. And I feel that through that will then bring it together more collaboratively across the whole piece. So I'm looking forward to the next one. In consideration, we've only been in post since the end of May, really, and the chief planner came after me. I think this is a significant amount of work that we have been carried out.
No, I agree, and just members' inquiries, to know that actually you normally get back an answer the same day, and it's really comprehensive. So really do welcome this. So thank you for driving a really good improvement.
Councillor Maldoni.
Thank you, Chair. I mean, I think you've probably answered the question that I was going to ask about what difference has it made having a chief planning officer in charge. I too have had a very good experience of members' inquiries and very prompt responses, and things that have been hanging around for quite some time actually getting sorted out. So that's great. I really welcome this report. I think it's a comprehensive plan, and I think good progress has been made on it already. Obviously, we need to keep reviewing to make sure that continues. But I think under new leadership, we're seeing swift action to implement the 11 key recommendations. Again, this is a situation that we've inherited, and I think that good progress has been made. It's not just about fixing past mistakes, it's about laying a foundation for a brighter, more prosperous future for all of Thurrock, and I look forward to continuing this vital work, and thank all the officers and portfolio holder for their commitment to seeing these improvements through.
Councillor Maldoni, thank you. No further questions or comments. I will invite Councillor Watson to move the recommendation.
Thank you, Leader. Before I do the recommendation, I just would like to point out that Thurrock Council has got probably the most development orders going through it, as well as the LDOs that go through it as well, for a very small team, and that is huge. We've got about 4, which is most boroughs haven't got any. So I just like to commend the staff that sit there in order to do that. So moving on to the recommendations. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet has recommended 2.1, note the progress made regarding the development and implementation of the Planning Service Transformation Improvement Plan based on the 11 recommendations outlined in the PASS report that was presented to Cabinet in March 2024.
Is that agreed? Thank you. We move on to agenda item 18, which is the retender of the Council's motor insurance. Can I just remind members that there are some exempt papers associated with this report. I really don't want to have to take us into exempt session, so if we can avoid mentioning anything that's on those papers, it would be appreciated. And with that, I'll invite Councillor Muldowney to introduce her report.
Thank you, Chair. This report seeks approval for the retender of the Council's motor vehicle insurance. In 2023, the motor insurance contract was awarded to Thurrock Municipal for a 3-year term beginning on the 1st of April 2024. Unfortunately, due to an error in the original tender submission, they've informed us they cannot hold the premium and terms beyond the first year of the contract. This situation leaves the Council with no choice but to initiate a retender process to ensure we secure the best value for the Council moving forward. The report outlines the steps the Council needs to take to move forward, and I would ask for your support in approving the recommendations so that officers can proceed with the retender. The priority, as always, remains securing the best possible terms for the Council under current market conditions. I'd open to any questions.
Councillor Muldowney, thank you. Questions or comments? Councillor Morris-Cook.
Yeah, just, I'm very nervous about what I'm going to say, so if I'm about to delve, someone just shout at me, please. How can do we understand what was wrong in the last submission so that we are not actually going to get ourselves into that situation again?
Yes, we do understand what was wrong, and I must say I have to commend staff for their very prompt picking up of the situation and movement on it. I think it's probably safe for me to say it was not the Council's fault that this has happened. However, the situation is such that there's no choice, we have to retender. Otherwise, it's going to mean that we incur considerable costs. So we do need to go back out to market and retender to try and get the best value.
Okay, if there are no further questions or comments, I will invite Councillor Muldowney to move the recommendations.
Thank you, Chair. For the reasons set out in this report, the Cabinet is recommending to 2.1, agree and support the proposal to commission a tender exercise in accordance with the Public Contracts Regulation 2015 for the supply of motor insurance.
Is that agreed?
Thank you. And 2.2, approved delegation to the Section 151 officer to enter into and award the necessary contract following the procurement process in consultation with the portfolio holder for resources.
Is that agreed? Thank you. Come to item 19, which is the Freeport Progress Report. Once again, members will be aware there are some exempt papers associated with this item, so if we could avoid straying into any information contained within them, we can stay in open session. With that, I would just say that the Freeport is a fantastic opportunity for Thurrock. If the Freeport is successful, as we hope it is, it will create jobs in growing sectors of our economy. It will lever in investment to improve our infrastructure and strengthen our position as the gateway to markets in London and across the South East. It's estimated that the Thames Freeport has the potential over the medium term to attract £4.6 billion of new investment, to contribute over £5 billion to the UK economy, and to create many thousands of new jobs. There will be fantastic opportunities for local people to have careers in cutting-edge industries. So we need to use the resources of the Freeport to help make sure that local people here can take full advantage of those opportunities. The private sector partners in the Freeport have signed up to a £3 million skills levy, and funding from that has already been released to local projects, including some run by Thurrock CVS, One Community Development Trust, and to extend the opening hours of Tilbury Library and to offer computer training and work readiness programmes there as part of the We Are Tilbury initiative. As well as having a vital role to play as a partner to maximise the benefits from the Freeport, the Council also has an important role acting as the accountable body for the Freeport, with responsibility for ensuring that public funds are used properly and that good governance arrangements are in place. We take both of those roles very seriously and want to make sure the Freeport is a success, that it delivers the jobs and investment that we hope for, and that there are really robust measures in place to manage public funds and to deliver in compliance with the rules and regulations set down by government. And this is particularly important. This report is here to update Cabinet on progress with the Freeport, and the recommendations will enable us to take the decisions we need to take in a timely manner, but with proper oversight of public funds. With that, I will invite questions or comments. Councillor Maldoni.
Thank you, Chair. I really welcome this report and the update on the Freeport progress. I do think it is a fantastic opportunity for us here in Thurrock, and for the people of Thurrock to benefit from the economic growth that is represented by the Freeport here. The question I had was, what specific steps are we taking to ensure that local residents benefit directly from the new jobs created by the Freeport?
So that's through the skills levy, ensuring that we can get people to be work ready. That's not only equipping them with the hard skills that sometimes you need to get a job, but also some of those soft skills, just the ability for people to get back into the marketplace, building confidence, building self-confidence, helping people to actually walk through the door. Often when people have been out of the job market, out of work for some time, confidence is the first thing that goes. So it's about also building in those kind of soft skills. I'm really grateful to private sector partners that are putting in at the moment a minimum of £3 million to help us do that. I just think back though to Councillor Hartstein's report earlier, where we were talking about care leavers. We need to be leaning on our Freeport partners to make sure that some of the apprenticeships, and there will be a couple of thousand apprenticeships that are created, are also available for some of our care leavers. We are in the very, very early days of the Freeport. If you think about it like a business startup, we're still within the first kind of 18 months. There's an awful long way to go, and we've got to be really clear about what it is that we want to see as benefits from the Freeport for Thurrock, and then go and get those benefits. So I think the point is well made. We need to make sure that we're skilling local people to get those jobs. Because frankly, if we create 10,000 jobs here, and those higher paid managerial executive jobs go to people living in Brentwood or Colchester, then we will have failed. Our job is to get our people ready to access those opportunities. Councillor Watson.
Thank you. One of the really good things that came out of the skills was about the bursary. Do we have any idea how we can nominate our children or our young people within our borough to go forward? Because this is shared between, as we know, three.
Not yet. The bursary has been established, so the funding has been established. The way that we will nominate or select is yet to be determined. But what we will do is be at the table, making sure that Thurrock gets more than its fair share of those opportunities. Councillor Maldoni.
Yeah, can I just say I'm really reassured by that answer. I mean, I had a meeting sort of earlier on this week with our new Director of Public Health, and we were talking about my ward, Chadwell St Mary, but I mean, obviously it applies across the borough, where there are significant amounts of people who have been out of work for quite some time, and we were talking about the health impacts that worklessness has on people. So it's really reassuring to hear that we're taking steps to make sure that our local residents are going to reap benefits from this economic growth. Thank you.
Anybody else? Oh, this is an incredible opportunity, and it's one of those kind of once in a generation opportunities, really. If we get this right, this could be transformational for Thurrock. We can't let it slip. We have to keep on working on this and make sure that we deliver. So I'm going to move to the recommendations. Recommendation 2.1, to note the overall purpose, strategic objectives and progress made with delivery of the Freeport. Are we agreed? Thank you. 2.2, to delegate to the Assistant Chief Executive in consultation with the Leader and the Cabinet Member for Change and Improvement and the Cabinet Member for Resources and Cabinet Member for Good Growth, the Chief Executive Officer, Section 151 Officer and Monitoring Officer to approve and enter into the legally binding agreements, including grant funding agreements, required to deliver the Freeport between the Council, Thames Freeport Limited, the shareholders of Thames Freeport Limited, organisations represented on the governing body and other relevant parties as appropriate, to approve the Thames Freeport Limited Business and Financial Plan for 25-26. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
Thank you. 2.3, to delegate to the Section 151 Officer in consultation with the Leader, with the Cabinet Member for Change and Improvement, Cabinet Member for Resources and Cabinet Member for Good Growth, the Chief Executive Officer, the Assistant Chief Executive and the Monitoring Officer to approve the remaining outline business cases for seed capital funding once due diligence is complete and it has been confirmed by officers that projects align with the Thames Freeport full business case or have otherwise been agreed by MHCLG through the formal change control process. Is that agreed? 2.32, release of seed capital funding to grant recipients where funding has been requested to develop full business cases and has been approved by MHCLG and the Freeport governing body, subject to satisfactory completion of relevant due diligence checks, funding being made available and putting in place legally binding grant funding agreements. Is that agreed?
Agreed.
To approve the full business cases, FBCs for seed capital projects, enter into grant funding agreements and release the funding as set out in the FBCs for the delivery of the projects subject to the satisfactory completion of procurement processes, completion of due diligence checks, sufficient seed capital funding and approvals from MHCLG and the Freeport governing body as required. Is that agreed? To approve the use of up to £100,000 from the seed capital programme to fund programmes managed by Thames Freeport Limited and to enter into a legally binding agreement and release the funds subject to sufficient seed capital funding being available, completion of any business cases or due diligence checks required and approved by MHCLG. Is that agreed? Thank you. To note the retained business rates position. Can we note that? And to note progress made on development and delivery of the seed capital projects. Thank you. Can I thank everybody for their attendance this evening? That brings us to the end of the meeting. Thanks everybody. Wish everybody a safe journey home and the good rest of the evening.